Welcome back to Boruto, anime review episode number 252. And this one discussing the 252nd episode of the series, Desire to Believe. Yes, this is another one of these set up for the very next episode. We see that we see Team 7 minus Kwanaki, who actually is absent this episode. Yes, no explanation for it. He's not even back to the village. I'm like, where the heck is Kwanaki in this episode? So, the original Team 7, for this series anyways, arrive at the port, and apparently their boat has been destroyed. I'm like, did the storm do that? I mean, they just fixed this thing several episodes ago. Now, here's the thing. They basically captured this boat back in, I want to be sure I got this correct here. I think this is it right here. Ooh, is it this one? Because I was like not long into this arc. That's when they seized this boat. They caught this boat back in like 237, and then here apparently it's been destroyed. Did the storm do that? It's possible, but it's not really clear indication. But it's like, oh, the boat's been destroyed. How I doubt the food so they're nowhere near this island. Well, maybe they destroyed them when they left. It's possible, but not really clear about that. So they eventually, after asking some shipbuilders to give it a lift, they don't want to do it at all. They don't want to participate in this war. I think it's because of the raging seas. And then, just by sheer coincidence, about to get up hope to get to Chotro, then the shipmaster shows up. Yes, the guy who owns this shipbuilding company. And basically, they request to use this boat. It's like, okay. So they get up there and they get close to it. And of course, Boruto's got Chotro's sword. Shows up the sword. And he talks to Chotro. So he gives Chotro back his sword. And basically, by the way, this whole episode, it's raining. Now you're probably thinking, wait, was it raining last episode? No, it wasn't. I do not remember raining. This is kind of weird. Like, last episode looked perfectly fine, and in this episode, oh, it's raining. Okay, I'm not sure why in the world we're having a raining episode. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Yes, and then, like, then of course you have Boruto convincing Chotro that he can stop the war by simply talking to Ikeda. After some convincing, basically, they able to, of course, basically his assistant, she at one point tries to disagree, try to talk, and of course Chotro basically understands what he's saying, so he sends him out there, no problem, and of course takes the boss's boat, and then that kind of leads to the end of the episode. But meanwhile, though, at the village, now apparently there's the fight between Bhutan and Kuro taking on Dinky and Awambi. And for some reason, it looked like they're fighting for quite a while because basically the area looks like the Hidden Rain Village. I'm like, last time I checked, they're not in the Hidden Rain Village. Why does the area look like the Hidden Rain Village? Yeah, I thought this was kind of weird. Because this is another thing, basically, I think this episode kind of goofed on. Like, it looks like no village, and all of a sudden we see a bunch of ruined buildings. I'm like, was fighting that intense that caused that much freaking damage? From last episode, which by the way was sunny out last episode. It's almost like I'm missing something here. Did I skip an episode? No, I don't think so. I mean, last episode was kind of dark, but I don't think it was, let's just say, dark per se. I think it was getting dark, but there was no indication there was rain. All of a sudden, randomly this episode, we have rain. We have an area that looks like Hidden Rain Village for some reason. And at one point, we have Kuto, where basically he's about to hit, looks like he's about to hit Iwambi. It looks like he's about to hit Bhutan. But looking up Iwambi being a gentleman basically pushes her out of the way so that her friend does not hit her. Which, I gotta admit, that was actually really smart from his part. Because even he can tell basically that can even hurt her a lot worse than him. He could take it. He could take it a little bit. It was to hurt him, but hurt a lot worse. Yeah. So then it's basically Metal Lee who is basically the voice is. Yes, Metal Lee, the guy who who couldn't even barely speak a word last episode. Here he basically is voice of reason, and they go out basically to go with him. Yes. I'm like, okay. And of course, basically, we have we do see Ikeda where he basically like going over a big wave and then he slices through a wave. Yes, he slices through a wave to allow the entire fleet to go through no problem. And about meet up with the actual battle. Of course, despite the fact it has to hold off, but Chotaro basically decides to just prepare a battle anyway, despite the fact he has to withdraw. I'm kind of like, okay. It kind of feels like this episode that we don't have. It's like what the left hand is saying, what the left hand is not know what the right hand is doing. That's kind of feels like, anyways, this episode, because it feels like this episode you have two completely different writers, despite the fact there's only one credited writer for this one. We have Tokido Madida. He basically is the one for this episode. The one that wrote episode 250, I believe this is the same guy who's been directing this series. Yeah, this is the guy who wrote in the original Naruto series. Great to see this guy back. Yeah, he's run many episodes of this series so far. Some really good ones. He's written a total number of so far for Boruto 44 episodes. Yeah, 44. He basically wrote for the entire series so far, of course, and they might update since then. He wrote a lot of really good ones. Yeah, none of the bad ones per se for the series. And this guy, yeah, they apparently couldn't keep the previous one on there. Like, it's like last episode was pretty good, and you have this guy here, Takeo Madida, who is the writer of this one, and it's a woman. Yeah, clearly a woman. And okay, like how many episodes has she written for Boruto? 24. I'm like, okay. Now, I don't know if this is the fault of the animators. This is probably the fault of the animators as well, because yeah, the last episode she wrote part of this one was basically episode like 195, which is basically a really good episode. Let's see, 195, because that was like a while ago. That one was. Mm-hmm. That was like from the previous season. Let's see. I think that was from like one of the arcs per se, 195. Let's see, 195. Here we go. Oh yeah, it was during a canon episode with Kawanaki. Mm-hmm. Yes. So I would probably say the fault of some of the stuff this episode is the team who made it. It doesn't look terrible. It just feels as though we have stuff happening completely randomly when it comes to animation. The writing is fantastic. It's just that the scenery is kind of weird and wonky, and it felt as though this one could just like this one basically probably did plan to include to have them use the ship, but maybe there was a rewrite. Yes, they probably had a rewrite, and they probably just threw the ship in there because it was the ship they're using, and it's randomly destroyed. Maybe there was an explanation for it, but they cut it. But I'm just throwing theories out there of what happened this episode. It's just like it's like abrupt shift when it comes to basically not tone per se. It's just the setting and the timing of this one is kind of weird. That's the fault I have for this one. Yep, and that's gonna be pretty much it for this particular review. Um, it's definitely a good episode. Just the defaults basically is like I said, the rain is completely like what? Why is it raining? Their ship being destroyed, and also the village they were just in looks like the Hidden Rain village. Yeah, seriously, it looks like the Hidden Rain village during an attack. Or it could be, it reminds me, the background reminds me so similar to that of the Hidden Leaf village when it was attacked by Pain. Yes, it looks so similar. Like, did the people who make this episode basically rip off that scene? You know, even though it's a smaller village in Hidden Leaf, but it's like they ripped off that scene. Like, though it kind of reminds me of the Hidden Rain village. Kind of. Yeah, so I'm going to end it here. And so tomorrow, probably going to have at least one or two videos happening tomorrow. One being Super Sentai. Okay, next video. Bye.